The Chicago Bears signed wide receiver David Moore and cornerback Greg Stroman to one-year deals. And with that, welcome back, guys, to another episode of the German Bear Podcast. And today we have to talk about these latest two additions by Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. And first of all, I think Greg Stroman and David Moore are two pretty good, valuable late free agent additions that can definitely help the team in some kind of way. I think David Moore is an excellent addition, and Greg Stroman, I don't know too much about him, to be honest, but the more I read into him, I think it's somewhat of a promising player that could definitely stick at the end of the roster. So let's get right into who these players are and how they could potentially help the team. And let's start off with the cornerback Greg Stroman. He's 26 years young, 5'11", 180 pounds, and was drafted back in 2018 by the Washington Commanders in round number 7. He started off his career very good with a pretty good rookie season where he appeared in 15 games, started 3 of them, had 1 interception, 4 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, and 38 combined tackles, plus 1 quarterback hit. And after that promising season, like with a lot of additions that the Bears made lately, he had some injury issues. Like I think of a Tavon Young who had some injury issues in the past, guys like that. And he's another one of those. He only appeared in 1 game in 2019 and only in 4 games in 2020. And he spent most of last season on the practice squad of the LA Rams. So just in general, a guy that provided great play in his rookie season, looked promising, especially for a 7th round pick, which is actually insane. And then he was just unlucky with injuries and couldn't stay healthy. So the Bears take a shot here to a player that has showed some promising stuff early on in his career. He's still young. He is athletic. I'm excited to see what he can bring. I think he's more of a camp body type of guy that could make the bottom of the roster, which would be great for him. And I think he can also offer some special teams value, which is pretty good as well. I don't know if he will end up making the roster, but it's a shot that it's a low risk. It's only a 1-year deal. We don't know the other contract details yet, but I'd imagine it's not that expensive. And I think it's a shot at a guy that showed a lot of promising stuff. And hey, you never know. It's a new team. It's a new opportunity for him. He can show what he's got. And if he turns out to be a very good bottom of the roster cornerback, a very good depth piece, I would be very happy with that signing. So let's move on to the kind of bigger signing of yesterday, which is David Moore. David Moore is 27, 6 foot, 215 pounds, and was drafted back in 2017 by the Seattle Seahawks in the 7th round. And David Moore is a very interesting player. I always thought kind of high of him, especially when he played for the Seahawks. He showed some very good stuff. And let's get right into his career because he started off somewhat slow. He only appeared in 1 game in his rookie season, but then from 2018 to 2020, he really showed a lot of good stuff with Seattle. In those 4 years, he had 78 catches, 1,163 yards, and very good 13 touchdowns. And that's probably the most intriguing thing about him. He brings a lot of speed, good hands, solid route running, and the Bears have a big need at wide receiver right now. And heading into the draft, we all want to see a big playmaker being signed, but you can never have enough receivers and playmakers for your young quarterback. And I think with David Moore, you provide Justin Fields a weapon that is very valuable, I think, to a lot of offenses. In 2018, he caught 26 balls for 445 yards and 5 touchdowns. Following that up in 2019 with 17 receptions, 301 yards and 2 touchdowns, and probably his best season in 2020, where he had 35 receptions, 417 yards, a bit less on the yards, but also 6 touchdowns. In 2021, he spent his time on 2 teams, once in Denver and once in Green Bay, but he did not appear in a lot of games. But that brings us to another point where he is kind of valuable to any team, I guess, and that is kick and punt returns. He returned 3 punts last season for Green Bay, but did a lot of that before in Seattle. He returned 10 punts in 2019, 12 punts in 2020, like I said, 3 punts in 2021 for Green Bay, and also returned 3 kicks in 2020 and 1 kick in 2018. So he has special teams experience. He could be a potential punt returner. That seems to be his thing on special teams. So that's one valuable aspect of his game. And then, like we saw, he's a guy that can give you 300 to 400 yards a year. plus the ability to score touchdowns. I mean, that's something we have missed over the last couple of years. We were never really aggressive or scary to defenses in the red zone. And David Moore is a guy that brings a lot of experience, scoring already 13 touchdowns in his young career. He's still young, only 27. It will probably be a cheap deal, only a 1-year deal. So in general, this deal for me is a big home run hit, I think. It's not a big risk. It's a low deal. It's not expensive. And you get a guy that could potentially be a wide receiver 4. And then we look at a Darnell Mooney, a potential second-round wide receiver. Then you have Byron Pringle as your wide receiver number 3. And then you have a David Moore. Plus a Quinemius St. Brown. And I think Daz Newsome at the bottom of the roster. So that's a way better receiving room than before. I think it's a pretty impactful signing late in free agency, just right before the draft. And I'm excited for David Moore. I want to see what he can bring to the team. I've heard some reports that he already made some plays in the mini camps. And yeah, I like the addition a lot by Ryan Poles. Also, Greg Stroman is a good one, but I think David Moore is the one that will eventually have the bigger impact on the team. And yeah, guys, that wraps up the episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely stay tuned for the mock draft 3.0. The final mock draft will be dropping in the next couple of days, just before the draft. I'm so excited for this year's draft. I've never been this deep into the draft, into so many prospects. So I'm just excited for somewhat football. And yeah, guys, like and subscribe if you liked the video. Check out Instagram for the latest news. And as always, guys, bear down.